In the surfboard industry, you have a multitude of different manufacturers, from very small backyard manufacturers who are just hobbyists to bigger companies like ourselves, which produce boards on a distribution for a global network. And then above that you have retailers that sell the product, and also below that you have manufacturers that make boards and sell direct to the public. So there's a number of different layers, and there's some very, very professional and some very, very non-professional, verging on hobbyist. So it's sort of I always think sometimes the surfboard industry is a little bit like fighting the Viet Cong, because not many of the whole industry is very organised. They're much more making boards hand to mouth and very old school since sort of maybe the 60s and 70s. Their mentality hasn't really changed that much.
In America, there's probably 1,000 shaper brands in America that produce our volume of boards, and the reason is because of the technology and the history of the technology. The cost of entry to come into the industry and be a surfboard brand is very low. You know, you buy a power planer for, you know, $175 and a Sureform, and make a wooden rack, you know, and you hang a couple lights and some sandpaper, and buy a blank, and voila, I'm a shaper, you know.
The competition in the industry, it's interesting. We've been going for 5 years now and no one's really replicated our model. No one really cares too much about the retailer, where the retailer is the centre part of our strategy. A lot of the normal brands or the domestically made brands are still, basically their strategy is changing. They're just selling direct to the public, and so they're just going into the end consumer. Some of the bigger companies like Rip Curl are starting to make branded boards and distribute them themselves. Colt, we have a number of OEM companies that we actually make boards for, so we make them and give them back to them, and they use their own distribution market to sell those. So we do that for Rip Curl and Colt and a couple of other brands now. I think this is one thing that's really starting to happen, and 5 years ago when we started, it wasn't really around. Surftech was probably the only real global brand, and it wasn't really available in lots of different countries. Being an American branded based company, the American market is huge, and so I don't think Surftech really look too much outside the American market, because they have such a big market at home. Where coming from Australia, as Australians, we all always, you get to a certain part in any industry and you work on a global project, and we treat the whole world as the whole world. And for the last 15 years of my life, I've worked on global campaigns or global programs with a number of different companies, and I saw it as a natural evolution. For once we start here, we go to the US and then we have distributors all around the world, so that sort of worked. As far as the other people replicating that thing, I don't really see that anywhere. Surftech is, you know, trying to do more globalisation, but other than that, I don't see a lot of competition in the structured approach to a globalised surfboard market. Maybe if Rip Curl and Billabong and Quicksilver have a go, they've already got the framework there, so they could do it quite easily. But outside of that, I think it's quite expensive for people to do. And maybe not a lot of people have the knowledge of the surfboard market. I think in our company, I know 3 people in the world who do what I do, and 2 of them work for us. And one of them we try to hire once a year. And he said no 3 years in a row.
La concurrence chinoise est la concurrence qui fait le plus de tort à tout le marché du surf, parce qu'ils font des produits quasiment équivalents à nous au niveau de la finition, enfin pas de la finition mais du produit. Donc en magasin, on peut très bien avoir une planche fabriquée en Chine qui va être en polyester, pré-shapé machine, glacée normalement avec une déco spray qui va ressembler exactement à une planche qui sera faite ici. Les produits sont moins chers dû au matériel utilisé, à la qualité de la fabrication et à la main d'œuvre. Du coup, les planches sortent pratiquement 2 fois moins cher que ce qu'on peut sortir. En gros, les planches qui sortent en magasin chinoise valent le prix du matériel dont on a besoin pour fabriquer une planche ici. Donc c'est un peu une concurrence déloyale parce qu'on ne pourra jamais s'aligner.
Grosso modo, une planche asiatique, une petite planche basique, elle arrive à 150 € dans le surf shop. Voilà. Et moi, quand je fabrique une planche, ben, elle me coûte déjà presque 150 €. Voilà, 140 ou enfin 150 €, c'est ce qu'elle me coûte en matériaux. Achat du pain de mousse, de la résine, de la fibre, les dérives. Donc moi je ne peux pas concurrencer l'Asie, quoi. Ça c'est clair. Il faut que je trouve d'autres idées.
C'est là où le côté communication sur le produit va être le plus important à mettre en place dans les prochaines années pour que les consommateurs se rendent vraiment compte de la différence qu'il y a entre un produit fabriqué en Chine et un produit fabriqué ailleurs dans le monde par rapport au savoir-faire et au matériel. D'ici 3-4 ans, il va y avoir une bascule qui va se faire un peu dans notre sens, là où, comme dans la nourriture, on va commencer à toucher du doigt la qualité du produit, la provenance du produit et le savoir-faire de la personne qui fabrique le produit.
As far as competition goes, there's a lot of people come into the market and focus on the bottom end, and a lot of people, and then that's very tough to make. If you're coming into the market in a niche market and you only want to focus on the bottom end, I think you've got 1 or 2 years in you and you're going to die because there's not a lot of money to be made there. And then you have to have from my point of view, you have to have a multi-brand, multi-strategy approach. So if you have a summer like we just had in Australia where we had great waves all summer, the beginners market was quite small, but the proficient to advanced market was quite big. So if we didn't have those more high performance brands, our business would have really suffered. But then again, if you have a season of no waves or bad surf, then the beginners are all still there, but your high performance boards suffer. So our strategy is to have a multi-branded approach at multi-different levels of proficiency, and it should balance us out all around the world to have a good summer, no matter or season wherever we are.
Au niveau de la concurrence, c'est vrai que moi je suis sur une niche bien spécifique qui est vraiment toute petite sur le marché. Je fais pratiquement aucun shortboard. Donc on est 3 ou 4 en France à vraiment faire ce genre de produit. Donc il n'y a pas une concurrence abusive et on ne se tire pas dans les pattes. Au contraire, on se donne des tuyaux entre nous, on est tous à peu près amis et on est intéressé des techniques de chacun et on se donne chacun nos petits trucs et astuces pour mieux y arriver, vu qu'on est tout petit et qu'il n'y a pas un gros marché. Après, au niveau des concurrents plus gros comme Surftech, comme Bic, c'est pas une réelle concurrence car c'est pas du tout le même genre de produit. On va être sur des produits artisanaux, plutôt artistiques, avec une sensibilité vraiment particulière sur une planche custom, avec des planches qui sont vraiment faites sur mesure, avec les cotes adaptées au poids et au niveau de chaque surfeur. Alors que Bic et Surftech, ça va être des moules de planches préconçues par de grands shapers qui vont sortir aussi cher que des planches qu'on va faire à la main, mais qui vont pas pouvoir être adaptées à chaque code de chaque personne.